Worker bees,
Way I look at it, in my time in here, I probably had make your own decision, but you have to make a big decision.
trying to see. what the other places they have
Okay, thank you.
economic.
No, I think so.
They own the long term things. that-
All right, I think that's it.
Well.
And we're gonna call the meeting to order. We're gonna start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. So. First up, we want to open a public hearing. So I will make a motion that do I have to read this whole thing verbatim, Jack? Or can I just-
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that the select board will hold a public hearing August 4th, 2026 to receive public comment on the proposed permit fee increase for salvage yards, junkyards. The proposal is to increase the current $25 permit fee annually to $250 annually. This fee increase brings the Canaan permit fee within the maximum fee allowed by New Hampshire statute.
Second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if we have anything else. Do we have any comment from the public? All right, first we have Ellie.
Yeah, why do you need to go up 10 times? And how much, revenue are you taking in right now? How many junkyards are licensed now?
None.
None? So you think that's gonna make people want to get a license if you make it that expensive?
I think, well, I think I can let Ted speak to that, but I think the process of going out there and telling these people that they need to file for a permit takes time, and we're trying to recoup some of that labor cost, but, I'll defer to you, Ted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a process of, they're not gonna be happy about it. And they've gotten away, this is at least two of them, this is the third year, I think they haven't even gone with the $25 fees, so.
So these are people that have had them for a long time and still aren't paying? Because I've heard this issue before. The only one I knew that was regularly paying it was NATO's, and of course they passed away. So and they always kept a nice clean place. You'd never know, if it was a junkyard.
I think we also haven't been fortunate enough to have someone that's solely devoting their time to viewing our building inspector and reviewing these permits in the past.
So are we finding these people now that are in compliance? Or what are we doing to enforce it?
Well, that's the next step.
And then I just, want to state that leveling the fine and collecting it are two very different things.
Well,
So,
I mean, 250%, 10 times zero is still zero.
We currently have some operations that never filed for license. You are supposed to file for a town license, which then kicks it over to New Hampshire DES for licensing, because there are containment laws, there are setback laws and everything. To have them get a town license opens the door that now we can turn it to DES for that licensing for them. And that was what, you mentioned NATO's, Peter NATO, he had all of his DES licensing, Fred Cushing, parts of that, he had all of his.
That's what's.
But this is the thing, it takes time to spot these and go talk to them and everything. And this just kind of recoups a lot of that expense of the work to go talk to them, the paperwork, and make sure that they are going to come into DES compliance.
So is this mostly for people with vehicles? Is that what you're aiming to
It's-
get to?
If anybody who is dismantling vehicles, or just junk in general, recycling yards. And because the problem is people bring in something to recycle. Now it's empty. And this is what we've got to try to get track of, because you have to have certain containment regulations. If you're going to dismantle a car, where'd the antifreeze go? Where'd the oil go? Where'd the gas go?
So on with motor vehicles, out of curiosity, what's the requirement? Used to be you could have one registered vehicle within sight of the state highway. Is that still in effect, or does that apply to town roads too?
I don't know.
So you don't know if they're in compliance.
I don't know. I do know that these facilities that we have, looked at are out of compliance with state regulation, because state regulation, you cannot have any dismantling or recycling facility itself where you're actually doing it within 300 feet of any roadway.
That includes town
Yes.
too?
And they're making money off of this, the salvage.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of places that, I mean, they do a useful service. But I just can't understand why we don't have anybody, you know, other than the NATOs that would comply.
Because a lot of these guys are looking for the quick buck.
Yeah. Well, I know it sometimes with recycling, if you're not big enough, you gotta wait. You gotta accumulate a lot of stuff in order for them to come and get it, to make it economic.
Yeah, there's different ways of doing it, and this is what it comes down to, is if you have a facility that you are going to store it until the price goes up,
Mhm.
where are you storing it?
Right.
Is it going to the neighbors every time it rains?
And I think ultimately, it's unfortunate that people were not having their permits and paying all this time. We're moving in the direction to ensure that they do. We want a fee that's fair and covers the time. That's what we're looking for.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Who's going to enforce the law, this change?
Well, depending on,
Yeah. Who enforces
this is
it?
going to be a combination, because ultimately, if there's an infraction involved with this, the police become involved, because this is regulated by RSA law as far as how you handle it, and environmental law.
Does this also include like somebody who's just has maybe 5 unregistered vehicles parked on them in their yard? They're not tearing them apart. They just haven't bothered to register them and they don't use them. They're just collecting them. Is that included in any of this?
Not yet. But these are all things that, the town on some of that, they used to have some ordinances. I have not found anything. A lot of the ordinances in the past that were written were not legitimate ordinances, because a lot of them just says you shall not have more than 2 unregistered vehicles. In order to make an ordinance legal, you have to have a penalty phase. And we've got ordinances in town that were written, like I say, if it says you can't have more than 2 unregistered vehicles in your yard. So what if I do? Well, you can't have them. What's next? You can't have them. You've got to have that penalty phase, or you have no enforcement. And if we can get through some of the other issues that we are currently going through, this is all on our list.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Ted, do you want to add anything?
I think we're good.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
What about non-town roads,
I'm sorry, you mean, one, are you talking
like a
about,
private road? For instance,
so are you asking if we would enforce this if a junkyard was in a
Correct.
remote area? So yes, the answer is yes, and we're aware of some of those, and the goal is to move towards enforcing those.
okay, thank you.
Absolutely, and so I think that Ted has actually been called on some of those individuals.
You're on the list.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think Ted probably has a town email that's on the website. If anybody wants to reach out by email to him, you can do that too.
Thanks, Sadie.
I didn't say call. Any other questions? All right, so now we close the hearing. All right, I'll move to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now I'm gonna call our regular public session to order. We already did the pledge. We have minutes.
Are you gonna vote on the ordinance?
Yeah.
I will move, excuse
Now
me,
we are done.
I will move that we go forward with increasing the fee to $250 from the current 25.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're gonna go ahead and start with our public, regular scheduled program. All right, so we have non-public minutes from July 21st. I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then I'll move to approve minutes from July 21 with one change. So Roger, it says the plan to replace or service generators has been reworked. So at the time of the meeting, and I'm not sure where we're at now, but Jack had a contract, a service contract that he was reviewing. Don't know how much that matters, but it was not in place at that time. And that's under 8.
Am I saying that he did anything with that contract?
I think what you're saying is he had received a service contract that he was currently reviewing for those 4, potentially 5 generators.
And what was that on the 28th or 21st?
24.
21st.
Got signed it
It
yet?
says the plan to replace or service
Yeah.
generators has been reworked for 5 generators.
And I'm still reviewing it because I only see 4 generators and I need a lineup
Okay.
of serial numbers with the actual generators and make sure we've included.
So
them
the plan hasn't been reworked yet. You're in the process of reviewing the contract. Okay. Do you have any other?
Hmm?
All right. So
You covered it.
then I vote yes to approve
Yes.
these changes. All right. Next we have, I don't think we have anything to sign in here.
That's all.
Okay. Property survey for town of Canaan, we've got Scott Sambler.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the woods again.
Somebody put a stump in the way.
All right, so Carrie Ann, emailed me and said that you're looking for some help, following through with I guess it was an ordinance or a warrant article that was passed a few years ago that you were gonna sell about 40 acres of the pit land to Dean and Shelley Vanier's property. So I just need to clarify a few things in order to give you a decent estimate and to make sure I do what you actually want me to do.
Okay.
So first is to confirm that this is gonna be an annexation, not a separate lot of record. Because that will make a pretty big difference in both in the approval, the planning board approval process and the associated work that goes along with it. The article is pretty unclear, right? We'll copy it. Okay. It just says.
Can you in non-surveyor terms explain to me the difference?
The difference is, an annexation is essentially a boundary line adjustment, so the 40 with an annexation, the boundary adjustment would get attached to and expand the Vanier's property, the Vanier's lot. Whereas if it's a separate lot of record, it's gonna require some sort of access, where the planning board won't approve it. A separate lot of record, it's treated just as that, it can be built on its own, it would be just an independent law, but an independent law needs to have some.
But I don't know if we entered into a contract
So-
with them to a purchase and sales agreement.
No, I don't think we have yet, but,
No.
I know, is this the land in back of the?
It's after the treatment plant.
Treatment plant
Yeah,
that otherwise would be landlocked,
correct.
Yes.
which is why the annexation would.
So, yeah, I mean, that seems like the logical thing, otherwise you'd have to provide a right of way through
And,
the pit, basically.
and also as we had checked into, because that land was bought with federal grant money for the treatment facility. They said we cannot subdivide a lot and sell it. We can do a lot line
Okay, that,
adjustment
So that ends.
to the, for the, which would be what you're saying, the annexation to the purchaser.
Okay, so
So
that, yeah,
we
that
wanna
definitely
continue to
answers the
purchase the
first
property.
question.
And
So
they
they
do,
made an offer back then,
Yes.
and there was another individual that made an offer, and the town administrator at that time did not bring the offers forward, even though they made a higher offer.
yes, and I met with at the time, the apparent winner. And then, you're right, the town didn't do anything with it, because actually the board, in their wisdom, actually said, no. We opened these bids today, this person won, you can't then play the one against the other.
Right, because
No.
they came to us a few years after and said, hey,
Right.
this happened.
So the question that I'm working on at the moment with the town attorney is what you did, with you, the board, years ago, binding as to that. And so we don't need to go through a sales procedure because you already went through it, found a winner, you just didn't execute it. And.
When you
and
say
so-
you, that was a completely different board.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand. So I'm saying
They're in the minutes, Roger, yeah.
So the question is, if that was a legitimate way to go about it, then they've already gone through the process.
Okay.
We just haven't gotten a deal. If for some reason or other that process was faulty, and I just don't know the answer to that, then you get a redo.
I was gonna say, then it's just a matter of redoing that whole process with
Right,
the understanding it would be annexed to whoever.
Yeah.
Which restricts it to the abutters.
Which it did anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
So does that help you?
Well, that answers the first question, yeah,
Okay.
so it would definitely be boundary adjustment or annexation. Second question is just the form or the shape it's gonna take, it's not a very, clear drawing, I just slapped this together real fast to get a sense of what things would look like. But the blue line that runs through the pit, from there up is the 40 acres, and the article said 40 to 60 acres, but that cuts off a little bit of the pit, whether that's part of the active, we worked pit or not, I don't know, if I haven't been out there in a bit, but, that's just something that the board needs to be aware of. If you want to preserve the pit for the town, then we'd have to kind of wrap around it, and the line would extend a little further south on either side of the pit to make up the acreage to have it be compliant with the 40 acres. So that's, again, just sort of, I just need a little bit of guidance as to what I would be doing, assuming this does go forward.
Okay.
The short version of the question is, does the town want to keep all of the working pit? Or all of the open pit, I should say. Because if they do, that just, makes a little bit more of a meandering line to create the 40 acres
Sure.
versus just going straight across and letting it fall where it falls.
Yeah, and the other thing would have to be in that agreement is that boundary for the wastewater treatment plant, that protection area.
The buffer, yeah, that question's coming up too. Well, I mean, I think that's sort of a separate thing, but, yeah, that was assumed was one of the things we'd be talking about tonight also.
I'm interested to see what Hugh thinks.
So Bob actually kind of got me on this because, and I agree totally with him, and we've had some conversations about this. Just because he ran into this with Hanover, if there isn't any covenants put onto that property about like no further development or anything like that, they ran into a big problem with a pit that they had sold up there because at 2 o'clock in the morning when we're emptying a truck in the middle of the winter and the tailgates are slamming, next you know, you've got somebody that said they weren't gonna build on it. And all of a sudden you've got a house that's 500 feet from the property line and they're not too happy when we're emptying our truck and getting ready to go and set for the next morning. Plus, we talked about the buffer for the sewer treatment plant and stuff. So I know he had some pretty good reservations about it, and Mr. Freeze was over the office one day and he asked us what we thought. It's like, we got to do some of this. You know, the Warren article gave us the permission to sell it. Doesn't mean we have to sell it. I think we really want to look into this a little deeper as far as having a buffer zone for the work area. What pits actually excavated out there now, because some of that's actually going to be put back in where those septic pits and that buffer is in. And then do we really want to give up all that land coming right to basically our back door for either some sort of further expansion if we ever need it, or And, you know, what are we gonna get in tax revenue for this? Sometimes it's not the greatest trade-off for, you know, a couple $100 to kind of protect yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you kept kind of glancing over my way, but I have no skin in the game whatsoever. I mean, I'll do whatever you decide to
The
do.
issue
Yeah.
comes back with, the warrant article passed to sell it. We went through a process. Process seemed to have an outcome. We didn't act on it. We still have to determine the legal footing that that process stands on, regardless of what we think now about whether we should sell it or not. Right.
I just
At some level, we should have thought about that before.
I asked for his opinion when Scott was saying, you know, do you want
Yeah.
to preserve all of the pit? And he was nodding, so I was wanting to know.
I understand that, but it could be that's a conversation that's happened about 6 years too late.
Do we still use all of that pit?
Fair amount of it. Not for actually mining and stuff right now, but we have the storages and
Could I ask, which piece of property here is the Banners? That got the,
It's- I can answer that one pretty quickly. It's the long thin rectangle to the north and east of the town lot.
okay,
I think it's.
So the blue line starts at that southwest corner and then.
okay,
And that's, they also own land in Orange. So
Yes.
that lot in Canaan is contiguous with land that they own in Orange as well.
well, I was just, my point, what I was wondering is that, on this end down towards the racetrack, if that was moved up to that next boundary line across, yes, it makes the piece smaller.
Yeah, that'll take it under the 40 acres.
Yes, take it under the 40 acres, but I know initially in that back there talking, it's gonna be like 37 acres or whatever, but I don't know where we are on that, but as far as to protect the town, get us out of our buffer zone, to move that over, if it ended up being 35 acres, it's still, it would give more protection to what's there.
Well, I think the course forward is gonna be to, again, get an answer to the legal question about the prior process, meet with Mr. Sanborn and
Yeah.
the neighbors, the butters, and work out where that line ought to be, and then kind of confirm it with agreement as to what we're really doing, who we're really doing it with, and how much. And we don't know any of that right now.
Yeah.
So. All
Yeah,
we know
because
is
I
we had a
believe
warrant
that
article.
the bid was per acre,
It was. It was.
so it's a matter now of coming up with, if we're going to hold to that warrant article and finish it, it's a matter of coming up with how many acres we're going to involve in it.
Yeah, and that was identified in your initial process.
Yeah.
I can't remember as I sit here right now. But if we need to adjust it for certain minor purposes, then we can simply do that with an agreement. And as long as they're okay with it, then that's good. If something is wrong with the process and we have to go through it again, then it's still, we have to decide where we want the lines and why.
Right, yeah, you have to decide.
Yes, yes.
I'll
I
put
mean,
it
you.
wherever you tell me. man.
Yeah, all Scott has to do is
Tell
go up
you
and
where
say, it's
I'm
here.
just- Like I said, I'm just looking for guidance, the way what the town wants to do. I can certainly make suggestions within what I understand the kind of the parameters and conditions to be, but,
Sure.
and that's why I put this together, just so you can at least begin to get a sense of what things would look like, what we're talking about, and
Right.
and again, to bring in the buffer around the lagoons, I mean, that, if that's something the town's gonna do, and now, again, my conversations with that with John were very informal, basically over coffee at Jake's, and there was never any real conversation with the town beyond that, about that, and I'm recollecting that he used throughout 500 feet as a figure, but I don't know if that's based on any, particular rationale, or if it's our.
Yeah, I don't know that either.
You know, if that's something the town's gonna do, that even if it spills into this, as long as that's established prior to this land selling, that just becomes a restricted area on the land. So you can still meet the area requirement, or, well, I don't know if it's really a requirement, but you can keep it at the 40 acres. And if some of that buffer spills into it, as long as that's established first, then that's just a restriction on the land.
Right.
From the get-go, so that shouldn't really be an issue. But and then, you know, to stay on the buffer for a moment, the question or questions that I need to have answered in order to give you a reasonable estimate of cost is how you want it marked out. You know, obviously the distance is gonna be, because the bigger it is, the bigger of a perimeter it is that I have to survey. Do you want it all glazed and painted and signed and pins every, you know, every so many feet, that kind of thing? I mean, those are just things I need to know to come up with a decent, accurate cost estimate for you, that's all.
I think we can just, you and I can just talk about that.
Yeah, that seems.
And we'll just identify all the things we need to clear up, get all the
Yeah.
agreements we need to set everything up so that we're doing what we're supposed to do, the way we're
Yeah.
supposed to do it. And then we can come back and let you know the answer to all those questions.
That sounds great.
So you and I we'll get together shortly and,
Yeah.
maybe come up with a few things on this. And then once we hammer some of these things out, then I can give you if you want a formal proposal, I can do that, or I can just keep it a simple email with what the cost will be. I mean, you know, I've done a lot of work for the town in the past, and I'm certainly comfortable keeping it informal, so.
I think we can, once we have a diagram that everybody agrees to, that's got some approximate measurements on the pre-survey to be confirmed after survey, we can keep it simple, I think.
Sounds good. Any other questions for me on any of this? Or?
I'll just give you what I had initially marked, just for thought.
Yeah.
To try to have simplification for,
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, we can, again, I can do.
and I was just thinking that way it keeps you corner to corner.
Yep, then I can figure out about how much that would reduce the area, so that you have that also.
Well, save us money when it's already established corners.
Yeah, no, that is true. It saves a little bit, although it's not putting the pin in the ground that costs some money. It's knowing where to put it.
Mhm.
That's, and then, you know, some other questions, and we can talk about this too, is to, you know, how much marking along the line. All that's specifically required is a pin at the end and a pin at the end, but it's, especially if it's gonna be on either side of land that's getting worked in one form or another, blazing, painting, or
I
marking.
think maybe an initial blaze,
Yeah,
because it's a new adjustment line, might be good for both parties.
yeah, I mean, I recommend when you've got long unmarked lines through the woods, it's just, you're asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the work I get is fixing those situations, so. So it's, you know, it costs more upfront, but it can save a lot in the long run. Because, and even if people are using good faith, if they're running around with GPS on the phone, they can be off 20, 30, 40 feet when they're in the middle of a 2,000-foot line like that, and they're just, you know, so.
Is that the approximate length of 2,000 feet?
I just threw a number off the top of my head.
Yeah, because we definitely want to do.
Yeah, the point is just unless it's physically marked
Right, I understand.
accurately by the surveyor, you can be out.
I don't disagree.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
anyway, be happy to help if it comes to pass. And,
Okay.
yeah, give me a shout and okay.
I'm good, thanks.
Okay, next we have, some people from DES here, if you wanna come up front. We'll table this for you.
Hi, I'm Randy Suazo. I'm the engineer for the Drinking Water and Groundwater Bureau at New Hampshire DES. Responsible for Canaan, and Richard Head, I'm a lawyer at the department, the legal unit. Department of Environmental Services.
Oh, wait.
Do you have business cards that we can have?
Yeah. Send one for you. Thank you.
Thanks for having us. I called to ask to get on the agenda. There is, from the Drinking Water Bureau, there's concern over not having an operator licensed in the proper certification and grades. Apparently you would let go of your operator and you didn't have one to replace him with. But here we are, and I've spoken to the town admin, and he assures me that the progress is being made to obtain an operator of the correct grade licensed. And I talked to Todd Cartier is on board to help Canaan, the town of Canaan, with their operations, but he's very part-time, and he doesn't qualify to be your licensed operator based on his current workload and what he's available to provide. I talked to Jim Taylor of Enfield, DPW, and he said that he talked to Jack about possibly helping out in a temporary manner, and also a couple of leads that Jack has. These leads are not licensed, so that would take between 1.5 and 3 years to become to meet that grade license. And so it all could work out, but if we didn't receive it, that we had to provide a notice of violation based on the current status of that not having an operator. So I want to make sure everyone's aware.
We're aware.
Okay. Very good. In addition to that, I also had to give a deficiency, what we call a significant deficiency, because I couldn't get in touch with anyone. Operating a surface water source as your drinking water supply is a little bit more tricky than operating a well and a groundwater source. I was notified by one of my colleagues that there's an algae bloom in the lake. The good news is that it's not cyanobacteria related algae bloom, so it's not harmful. But it is right at the intake, and it could cause significant operational problems to your treatment system. And so I did finally speak to Todd Cartier about it. I said, please relay this. And so basically, to address that significant deficiency, all we need is a phone number to get in touch. Actually, Bob is listed as the emergency contact.
Yes.
So I guess we do have a number, right?
Yes, yeah, okay.
But I was hoping that could be addressed by finding an operator, but that's easier said than done. There's a shortage of
Yeah,
operators.
that's not an overnight.
There's a shortage. We realize that. Which we're just here to help you when we can, where we can, and make sure you're making progress in that endeavor. Any questions on that?
Well, no real question, but we do have individuals that are licensed that have stepped up to help us. Of course, you're getting on a part-time basis, and whenever we have a problem or any concerns, that they are right there. And we've got 2 more that we're going to get in contact with. We're in that process of getting a hold of them for assistance. And Jim, he has offered his help from out there.
Yes, that's good. He has 1 grade 2 licensed operator. So what I had told Jim is that Canaan, you guys need a primary operator for our database that we can contact if we have questions on operations or concerns. So they'd have to be willing to provide that information. I don't know. He says you guys have to work it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
and meanwhile, you're the main point of contact.
Yeah.
For us, if we do have concerns.
Yes.
And then I guess lawyers showing up now at meetings. Take from that what you will. You have a few problems going on, and I know you're all aware of them. They're all fairly serious. So you have the issue with the operator for the drinking water system. You have related issue on the operator for the wastewater side of things. I understand there is some movement there also, and there may be a contract in place with somebody. I'm unsure of that.
There is.
Can we get a copy of that contract?
I believe you have it at around 2 o'clock today. You already got it.
Do you mind just, when I spoke
I
to
can-
Mark earlier, he didn't have one, and I just want to make sure we do have it.
I know Al sent it to somebody, and I can't say as I know who,
Right.
but,
If you don't mind, if you can give
sure.
them my email, which is on the card, just so we have that.
Sure.
Similar sort of very similar types of consequences associated with it in terms of health safety. If you have it on the drinking water, if you don't have the full-time operators, it becomes very tricky and it becomes, increasing risks as time goes by. So those are sort of the two very high priority issues in terms of the department's concerns about what's going on. Another issue is with regard to the landfill. On the landfill, we don't have a landfill closure standard permit application. That has to be filed at some point. We do need to have a formal closure of the landfill that is just not.
What landfill is it?
It's on Route 4 and Chet was doing that last year when we
The old-
realized that it hadn't been done.
The old dump site,
The old dump site.
Is it on the?
that was closed
20 years ago?
Yeah.
30 years ago.
We swapped land with it.
So it was purchased by the town. I don't remember when, 2012-ish, thereabouts, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
But it is owned by the town. It was operated by the town when it was not owned. And a standard permit for closure needs to be filed, which has certain requirements associated with
Does
it.
that have to happen more than once?
Nope, we don't have it.
I went through this 3 years.
Because at one point monitoring well was drilled years ago when it was closed. And then we received, I don't know where it is, but I do know we had received paper that we no longer had to utilize that monitoring well because it had passed.
It may be true with regard to that monitoring well, but we don't have a standard permit for closure. And the town does not have a groundwater management permit. So the groundwater management permit is sort of an essential component of
Yeah, well, that's
keeping
something
track of what's going on.
Yeah, because like I say, I was involved with the budgeting in town at the time that was closed and it was moved over here as a
Transfer station.
transfer station.
Sure. So,
Yeah, because we started it down there as transfer
Yep.
and then it was moved here. And I know, I cannot tell you that, yes, everything was filled out, but I do know it was brought up. Yeah.
so we're just looking for the standard permanent closure. We're happy to help you out, work with that. There is some money available, about 20% for closure costs, but the landfill has never been formally closed. And given the age of it, it wasn't built to modern standards. There is
No, that was a burn site, no.
so there's a need to figure out what's going on there. So that's two parts to that, the standard permit and the groundwater management permit. And there are some available monies, at least with that. And then the last one I have at least on my list, and I don't know the status of this, so I'm just raising it. There was, I believe a letter of deficiency was issued and maybe an administrative order with regard to hazardous waste that was being stored.
Yep.
I don't know know that I've not seen anything to suggest that's been fully resolved. I'm just actually inquiring.
Well, let's say what fully resolved means, because I sent like 30 pages to a whole bunch of guys up at DES.
Okay,
So I engaged, Zulus Environmental.
okay,
We spent $5,000. They come up here with chemists and folks. They labeled, identified, prepared everything for packaging.
perfect.
I have an email from July 28th that says, soon you'll be receiving the price for the transport and the disposal of them.
Okay.
And, the moment that happens, that stuff will be gone.
Okay, so, and then, if you could just keep Tyler Croto involved.
Okay, sure. Because I've been trying to send these things, and I'm saying, if there's somebody else that needs to get this stuff, well, let me know, but there's a lot of you.
There's a lot of stuff. There's one or two of us.
I'm happy to tell you what we're doing.
Anytime you need somebody and you don't know who to contact, you have my card. Feel free to reach out to me anytime.
Okay, and what was his name, Tyler?
Tyler Croto. I'm hoping I got this right. Croteau.
Okay, well, I can find him. And that's as to the hazardous.
That's the hazardous waste.
Okay, sure.
He's on the hazardous waste
Yep.
management side of thing on
Yep.
enforcement.
No, that's good, because I'm telling you, I'm happy to get rid of it.
We're happy for you to get.
I've heard that it was irritating you.
It's been several years.
It has indeed. Yeah.
So it would be good to check one off.
Yes.
But it would be good to check them all off.
Yeah.
And we, there's two parts to this. One, all of these issues have potential serious health consequences associated with it, which is why we're here tonight. We also want to make sure, we do what you need from us to get these things done. But the longer it takes, we only have so many tools available to us to sort of push things along. You've seen some of them, letters of deficiency, those ramp up, those go to administrative orders, those then go, ultimately to other forms of enforcement. We don't want to go there. We know you're working on it. It's not like you're ignoring us.
We're trying to stay ahead of that.
You're not quite ahead of it
Yeah.
yet, so.
We're way behind.
Yeah.
So we're working on at least catching up.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're trying to stay ahead of those other,
Those other
letters.
forms
We
of
know
enforcement.
we have problems. And this is where we working on, that came to light to us, unfortunately, that there's several of these problems that we've just not been informed of.
Sure.
We will, and I can forward a whole bunch of stuff to you, because we've been very hard working at this. We will spend just about $200,000 this year to clean up all of these things.
Yeah, and I recognize the cost and I recognize it's a burden.
Right.
And that's not unheard, but it also is unfortunately something that's just,
Sure.
we're moving into that. We just has to be done at this stage.
Sure, I understand that.
Because if, something does happen and, you have a negative result because you don't have the full-time operators, it just comes back, and we're trying to avoid that. And I know you guys are too. But we very much appreciate giving us some time tonight to talk with you. And at any time, if you have questions, if you can't get a hold of somebody at the department, you don't know who to contact, call me, and I can find out for you. I won't necessarily know off the top of my head, because there are a lot of people, but we can figure it out. And we do want to sort of help you get to that point.
Sure, I'm thinking.
Who should I contact for water treatment currently?
Well, I have to follow up with Jim as to which license he's going to assign. I don't know if it's Stephen or the other guy.
Okay.
Or his.
We talked today, well, it could be, I just don't
He's
know.
not agreed to. So we need a great.
Yeah. And as I said in my email, I don't know if it's Stu or Jonathan and John. I'll get those licenses and.
Yeah, I'm just,
We spoke today, like, that's all.
okay, great. If you need any help with sorting out coverage, and what counts and what doesn't count, you can contact me or Jason Smith is from our office as a certified operator. That's another name for it, but.
I'm up to like 6 now.
You can always contact me with drinking water related issues.
Yeah, we just related to that, just again, we're working with Champlin Associates to both, they made recommendations for the $40,000 we're gonna put into the wastewater treatment plant. And they'll be making similar recommendations on the water treatment plant. Both in the short term and in the long term, because both of them, I mean, the wastewater plant was built in 1990. We just got actually the original plans back from SVE.
Yep.
And, you know, we've got all new aerators, aerator motors in the lagoon. And we, like I said, purchased like $37,000 worth of deal equipment and monitoring and remote stuff. We're gonna do a similar thing. There was a proposal for some upgrades to the water treatment plant that I came across that were 2 years old. So I called up the company. I said, what is this? And they said, well, we've actually got it mostly built and you haven't paid for it and you haven't completed the order. So I paid for what they've done 2 years ago and we're going to consummate the rest of it while we make changes to the water treatment plant.
So that's great. My concern is that if there is algae that gets into the plant and blinds your filters, you could possibly be without water. If you can't filter it through the stand because it's blinded by the algae. So that's why I wanted to talk to an operator. Right? You know, upgrade all the equipment, but still need somebody there to, then you have to spend more
Yeah,
money
there
to
has to be
replace
somebody
it.
there to know what to do.
Exactly. So thanks for having us.
I have to say, these people have been profoundly supportive. We've made more improvements and paid more attention to it in the last 3 weeks than the last 15 years.
Yeah.
I can assure you of that.
Thank you. No, we've recognized there's been a change and it's been positive and appreciate that.
It had some bumps, but we need to make progress.
Yep. So, yeah. Good. Right.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Not at this point.
Great. Thank you very much. And if you
Thank
don't
you.
mind just writing in that wastewater agreement, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I took it down.
Thank you.
On that uplifting note, it's your turn, Jack.
Well, they took all the thunder. That's all I was gonna talk about. But, other than that, I have ongoing positive negotiations with the potential new fire chief. I expect that we might be able to bring that back to you fairly soon. And Ryan and I will have our third meeting with relating to the federal money that you've been unable to access for the last 3 years.
For our water project.
Yep. So, and that's still all positive, and they're always happy to reach out and continue to help. So,
How is the engineering side of that progressing now that you got them the information they needed?
that's good because they've been participating in these meetings and, they've been very helpful. So, you know, they're very excited because they're happy to do the work and it'll be nice to get it going again. Yeah. You know, I know we talked about the landfill 3 years ago.
Yes.
And we went through this very thing.
We
So-
went through that same notification in Unfield. They said that it was never closed.
But they wait 10 years to tell you.
Yeah, that had been closed out there for 20-something years. This one down here was closed. Stopped burning prior to 1980.
No, I know. I've seen it out there. I saw it years ago when we went through this process the first time. So,
And that was switched over because we put in a loading ramp and we parked back the rubbish trucks up to it, and that's how the transfer started down there.
Yeah.
And then early 80s, 82, 83 or so was when we put the compactor, the first compactor in over here and set up over here.
well, I'll have to circle back on that and try to see what records are out there on the closure. At this point, I have no idea.
Yeah, it came up when Chet was here as well. I just can't find my note on it, but
Okay.
I've been
Who
looking
brought
for
it
it
up?
too. Chet said that he was notified of it and that
Okay.
he was going to complete whatever needs to be completed, so.
Okay.
Potentially been done several times.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I do know at times when they get new help down there, they ask the same questions over.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I had this conversation with them a few years ago when they sent a letter after 10, 15 years saying, you just realized now, it closed in the eighties?
Because I do know the monitoring well that they required down there, they said it was all good to go because it had been 30 years.
I know.
So.
Spent some time out there with somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just have to figure it out.
Do you have any other business? Any other business from the public?
Question, I was very sorry to hear and sad to hear that Anne LaBrie, is leaving us or has left us. Lucky for the school district that she's going back to work, you know. But with an upcoming election on September 8th, are we going to keep her on as deputy clerk, where in the position she was prior to being the full-time clerk?
All that has to be done, I just had this conversation with her last night. Dale Barney is moderator. It's the moderator's job to oversee that we are covered on election officials and help. And all he has to do is appoint her as an election official, and she can help on any of those elections.
Will she be able to help with the after-election paperwork that needs to be?
Yeah, she can be.
completed?
She can just, he appoints her as an election official for that election.
Okay,
And that means she can work on everything from preparation to the final.
And she's very graciously offered to do that, to help.
I'm sure.
Yeah, the only thing we have to do is have her appointed.
Yeah, Dale can swear her in as an assistant moderator. I mean, he can swear in, she can.
Yeah.
He's the chief election official in the
Right, I
town. so
understand
he
that.
can- he
I used to be
runs that
district
show.
clerk for the school
Yeah.
district, so I'm familiar with
Yeah.
a lot of it, but
Yeah.
I was just concerned if she wasn't gonna be a part of it, you know. So, good, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we don't need it on public, do we?
I don't think so.
All right, then I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Are you sure?
It didn't hurt too bad, did it, Ted?